Well, we'll do a little bit of introduction, share a little bit about what we're doing now, each of us, and then the theme for tonight is how to be an ideal citizen of Ananda. And Jyotish,
so shape up.
And Jyotish will talk a little while, I'll share a little while, and then we'll have questions.
Okay, so how to be an ideal citizen of Ananda. Well, the first thing a good citizen needs to realize is why he's here. And why are we here? And this is very, very important, because the only reason that we're here at Ananda, and the only reason for Ananda's existence, is to help us, and by extension help others, find God. And if we forget that, if we get lost too much in... The Master came with a dual mission. One was to show us how to live properly in this world. And Devi's going to talk a little bit more about that. But the other part of that mission was to show us how to get out of the dream. Master, we read, where was it? He was giving all of those Cincinnati or... Yes. Yeah, Cincinnati. He was in Cincinnati. He gave lecture after lecture for 30 nights, I think, in a row, to the largest hall. More than 3,000 people came. And it was all the how to live teachings, including how to find your ideal spouse, how to be successful, how to attract money, all of those teachings. But with a spiritual overlay, with a spiritual core to them all. But then, when he finished 30 days of those free lectures with 3,000 people in the hall, then he went on and taught basically the whole meditation series that we have, Meditation 1, and all the way up. I don't know that he gave Kriya at that time, but he ended up giving Kriya to, I think, close to 100,000 people. Anyway, it tremendously impactful and important life. But to the deeper devotees, what he really wanted to emphasize was that this life is a dream, and the purpose for our existence is to break the delusion that this life is the reality and there's nothing beyond that. He was giving a class, I think it was in Encinitas, but a smaller, either Mount Washington. It was where he often gave classes, because he said, when I talk here, I usually don't talk this way. But I wanted to read this quote. I referred to it a couple of weeks ago, but it's really important. Now, close your eyes and listen to this. So this is so that we really understand that our primary mission here is to prioritize finding God and getting out of the dream. So close your eyes. Here in this finite world, we behold length, breadth, and thickness. But there is another plane where the three dimensions do not exist. All is transparent. Everything is consciousness. The sense of taste is consciousness. The sense of smell is consciousness. Our feelings, our thoughts, our body are nothing but consciousness. Just as we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch in a dream, so in that higher sphere, we experience all these sensations through pure consciousness. This is what I'm seeing now, even as I speak to you. I am not in this body. I am a part of all that exists. These things I am beholding are just as real to me as you who are in this room. You have to awaken in order to perceive that God is everywhere and to realize that you have been dreaming. And so that is really what we're here for. All the rest is in order to support that. Now, obviously we give most of our attention to our daily activities and to all of the things that hold us. But if we don't prioritize, and I mean for those sitting here and those who are really part of the core of Ananda, if we don't make finding God the first priority in our life, then we're missing a grand opportunity. You know, sometimes we can get caught up. Obviously, the core way of getting out of the delusion, of breaking the miasma, of getting at least to the level of being a lucid dreamer, so that we realize even while we're doing things that we are dreaming. The core method of doing that is meditation. But we have to switch our thinking so often, and I'm talking from my own experience here and my own extension, my own reality. Often when I go to the meditation room, it feels like a duty. I've got to meditate a certain amount of time. I've got to do a certain number of kriyas. I've got to try to focus my mind, and it's not necessarily something that I spontaneously go in and enjoy, but rather I do it because I am fulfilling a promise to Master and a promise to myself. All of that is fine, but we have to flip that around. Our sadhana, our meditation, our spiritual life is not a duty, it's an opportunity. And when we go in to meditation, or when we're doing any kind of serious spiritually focused work, we should see it not as a duty, but as an opportunity to break the miasma that we're caught in this, this dream world is the reality. To some extent, we need, the reason that Master talks so often about non-attachment is not because the things of this world are bad. They're neither bad nor good. They're just dream things. But the reason for non-attachment is because if we get too attached, we get caught in the dream and we don't have enough space to want to get out of the dream. We went to the movie Chariots of Fire with Swamiji, or saw it. I don't know whether it was a video or in the theater. I think a video. Anyway, we were watching. If you don't know this story, it's the British track team. I think it's the 1920 Olympics, something like that. It's early 20th. Yeah, I'll get it corrected. Fact checkers out there. So it's the British Olympic track team, and it focuses primarily on two runners, one who's a sprinter and the other who is both a sprinter and basically he's also a saint, but he runs a little farther quarter-mile runs. But there's this whole build-up, their training and their intensity and the relationship with the coach and all the things they've had to give up in order to train. And so finally it's the Olympics, and they've got this music by Vangelis, and it's wonderful music, and it builds, and it's following this sprinter, and he's run the race that he's favored to win in, the 100-meter race, and he's lost. And now his only opportunity to reclaim the honor that he's spent years of dedicated energy to is in the 200 meters. And so it starts out and it's in slow motion and the music is building and you see his face just straining and the intensity in his eyes. And Swami taps us on the shoulder and says, "It's hard for a person to remain unattached at a moment like this." And so, is it bad to run in the Olympics? No, it's a wonderful thing. Is it bad to put all that intensity in training? No, it's a wonderful thing. But if it attaches us to the dream, then it becomes a barrier. Now, Master said that any time, great athletes, great musicians, people who have put intense effort, have developed all of the tools they need, that when they turn that intensity and that skill set toward the spiritual path, they make much faster progress than they would otherwise. So all of it's good, except for us. We need all that intensity. We need that focus, but we do not need the attachment. Because if we become too attached to the things and the projects and the success and all of those things, then it holds us into the dream. It's like we increase the magnetism by which it draws us. So we need all of those things, but we also need non-attachment. So when we sit to meditate, Master said, he's given many definitions of meditation, but one of his definitions of meditation is remembering that you're the soul. Isn't that simple? Meditation is remembering that you're the soul. The soul has gone through many, many, many dreams, hundreds of thousands, millions of dreams of incarnations and all of the daily activity. And if we can remember that we're the soul, not the soul identified with this particular incarnation, then that's what wakes us up, because we wake up. Master, in other talks, he talked about how the senses limit our perception. They don't open up the world. They give us a false perception. The senses are the dream's world, the ego's world of how we are able to maneuver. But it's not how we get out of the dream. We have to back off. We have to leave that behind. And the soul's way of knowing is through intuition. And so in meditation, if we meditate and see every meditation as an opportunity to move our consciousness from the false dream world that contains the ego to the soul world, the realization that we're the soul and that soul is a part of God, then ultimately by longer, deeper, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. So we need to not only prioritize the purpose of our life of getting out of this dream, but we also need to give serious time and focus to our meditations. Now, our path is not very complex. We have 4 basic techniques. And if any of you are not doing all of these 4, you should work on fixing that. But energization, Hong Sa, Om, and Kriya, those are our 4 basic techniques. And obviously meditation, but they're all designed in order to pull the consciousness and the life force back from attachment or outflowing energy which connects us to the dream world and holds us to the dream world, to pull that back and bring the energy up to the spiritual eye where intuition awakens. So those 4 things, that's the purpose of our life being here. And if you as an individual lose that, then you're off purpose. If we as a community lose that focus, then as a community we're off. And as the whole of Ananda Sangha worldwide, which has maybe 100,000 or 200,000 people who draw from this, if Ananda Sangha loses its true focus on what we're about, then we're just, I don't know, we're just another organization. Nice one, good people, friendly, nice. Deer are nice. The turkeys roam around. It's a wonderful place to visit. Should go there and see the tulips. All of that is wonderful. But for us, we can't lose the focus of why we're here, and that this is an incredible opportunity. It is rare that it's like one of those alignments of all the planets that come together just once in a very rare amount of time. It's an alignment of all the things. We've got the satsang, we've got the environment, we've got the teachings, we've got the grace of the gurus, we've got it all in this lifetime. Now is the time to make spiritual progress. Okay, so meditation, trying to get out of the dream, and then leading our life as much as we can with attunement to Master and these teachings. This ray gives us the whole pathway of getting out. Because Devi and I, we've said many times now that we're rereading Master's lectures, but a little bit at a time. And in fact, we read to each other at night. We're switching off, so before we go to sleep, she'll read, a few pages or a passage or two, and then the next night I'll read. And it's a very nice and sweet thing. But you don't have to do it that way. But connecting with Master's teachings before you go to bed, and in little focused time periods like that, is really, it really awakens and attunes the consciousness. I've been reading a number of lectures recently where Master talks about how important the willpower is and how important it is to develop that. And as we all know, we've all heard the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. But I read a very interesting passage last week about that. We normally think that the greater the willpower we put into something, the greater the flow of energy that goes to accomplish that project. Isn't that the way we normally think? Master flipped it around. The greater the will, the greater the flow of prana, God's prana, that comes into us. So the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy, not from us, but into us. So developing that willpower, and the more willpower we develop, the more the element of God's prana is intelligent consciousness of God, the more that flows into us and allows us to accomplish something. As I said, Devi and I have been very busy, but have really accomplished a lot. And I think it's that principle that we have put out a lot of willpower, but it isn't us, it's God's grace flowing into us that allows us to do that. And so we need to work on our willpower. I've been doing one little thing that I'll just share. It's a little trick. Sometimes or often during the day, some little thought pops into your mind like, oh, I should have washed that cup after I set it down. If it comes into your mind, do it. Stop what you're doing, go back, wash that cup, and put it away. If it came into your mind, think of it as coming in. God is prompting you to use your willpower to kind of, to corral yourself into doing the right thing. And so I don't mean wrong things and whims, but if something comes into your mind and you're saying, yeah, I should do that, I should eat that salad, eat the salad, whatever it is. So anyway, I've been doing that, and it is actually that little very small step has surprisingly powerful magnified results in doing it. So work on your willpower, and most of all, align your will with the will of God. And then the final thing that I want to touch on, and we've heard a lot, is we need to accept everything that happens in our life as coming from God and having its own purpose. Dark Eyes was a perfect song. Master's loss of his mother was the greatest tragedy, certainly of his young life, but certainly also one of the greatest tragedies of his life. But if his mother had not been taken away from him, would he have seen the thousands of eyes of the Divine Mother in meditation, those dark eyes, and had the Divine Mother reassure him, I have been your mother through many lifetimes? So sometimes that which is hardest for us is God's way of expanding our consciousness and expanding our heart, expanding our worldview, and breaking us out of the dream. And so be grateful. Some of us are facing health challenges. Be grateful for the health challenges. Some of us are facing, whatever we're facing, everybody faces something. Whatever it is, let's be grateful that it's come to us, because God, Master, our gurus, our whole line of gurus, they are watching over us and they are guiding our lives because we've given our lives to them. And so they are sending to us the experiences that we need in order to break out of this dream miasma.
Thank you, Jyotish. That was inspiring. He mentioned reading to each other at night, and it reminded me of a story which some of you may know. We have a grown son, but when he was, all growing up, he loved to have us read to him before he went to bed. And he was very greedy about it. One more chapter, one more chapter, one more. And then finally, one evening, he just, one more. And I said to him, you know, when you grow up, you're going to have to read so many stories to your kids to pay off all the stories I've read to you. And he looked real thoughtful. He said, did your mother read you stories? And I said, oh, yeah. And then he said, where did she get the books? And I said, what do you mean? Weren't they real rare in those days? I said, it wasn't the Middle Ages. That all we had was the Gutenberg Bible, you know. Anyway, that's it. It's revealing how our children think about us. So I'm going to talk in a little more practical terms about how to be an ideal citizen of Ananda. But I want you to know, honestly, this is not a corrective. It's a report on how you all are doing. Because when I thought about it, all I could think about was what you're already doing. And so this is my perspective on all the ideal citizens who live here at Ananda Village and everywhere, really. But so the first point is ask what you can give. Don't ask what you can get. And it's just such a simple thing, but people come to the community now, and it seems kind of, they've got the temple, they've got houses, you know, the expanding light, it's all roads, and everything seems done. But so I'll just, maybe enjoy myself here. No. Ananda is a work in progress. And when it stops being a work in progress, then it becomes ossified. But remember, this is a master's mission in Dwapara Yuga was to break form. And Ananda, it's fluid, and it needs to be fluid. So everyone, and I see this, so every day I hear or see something that reflects this, that what can I do? How can I improve? How can I make it better? Maybe I'm just looking at all these beautiful friends. Maybe I can start teaching pottery to children and adults. Maybe, all these creative things that are brought to the community. And what can I give? What can I give? And another beautiful characterization of it, example of it is our housing committee, where everybody wants, maybe they need an upgrade of their house. But I've never been, years ago I was on that committee, but not for a long time. But it's like, whose needs are the greatest? What can I give? And people who are on the committee tell me it's so beautiful because at first everybody wants the same thing. And by the end of the meeting, everybody's come away with something that they like because they're not thinking, what's in it for me? They're thinking, well, that person needs it more. We'll let them have it. And if we can just keep building the community on what can I give? And then part of that is a creative expression. Swami gave a very interesting talk. Again, I just discovered it among my notes. He gave in Assisi, and it was talking about the future of Ananda. And he said, we need to be creative, but always in attunement with our Guru's teachings. And he didn't say himself, but we will say, and Swamiji. And so to take what he's done, but not to say, and I don't see this anywhere, really, believe me, it's not a corrective, but it's for all of you who will be building the future to watch for these things. Oh, well, I read a new way to teach Kriya, maybe someone will say, and maybe we can try it this way, and it changes the ceremony. No. The things, we can be creative in many ways, but there are some things that have to honor the tradition and be in tune with the tradition. Of course, the music is a marvelous example. And by focusing, I don't know if you experience this, I can't imagine you wouldn't, but like when you all sang, particularly Dark Eyes, it wasn't like music. It was like a prayer. It was like God's presence, because we keep going deeper and deeper into the creative expression of what's been given to us. And so we need you to be creative. We need to be creative, but in attunement with what has been given. And, never to... Dharma Devi and Narayan have done such a magnificent job carrying on crystal clarity, but everything they put out is an attunement with Ananda and our teachings. I'm sure it would be tempting that someone sends a manuscript and maybe you think, well, this might even sell a lot of copies, but it doesn't reflect our teachings. And so always to be keeping that as a point of reference. How does being creative, but always with the thought, is this reflecting what's the tradition that we've been given? And to bring it forward in that way. Now, being creative and asking what you can give, not get, kind of hinges on the point of making the right decision. And so how do we make the right decisions going forward? First of all, it's so important maybe I should do this. Maybe we should offer these programs at the Expanding Light, whatever it might be. But to ask for inner guidance, ask for intuitive guidance. Open, as Swami gave a very simple technique for drawing intuitive guidance, hold the question up in deep meditation and stillness at the spiritual eye projected, and then try to feel the response in the heart center, in the chakra. And it rarely happens immediately, but it's like all of a sudden there'll be clarity. Now, this is one little bit of a warning I will give you. Sometimes people say, Master told me to do this. Master came to me and he told me to do this. I never trust that when someone says that, because that's not how I feel it. Maybe it's true, But the way I feel inner guidance is more natural. Just the mind becomes clear. And as a master told me to do this, and master talks to me, I always sense ego in that. And maybe it's not always true, but I'm a little leery of that approach where people say, well, master told me to do it. And a good way to check is to get feedback from other people. And I have seen 100% of the time, if it's not the right decision, people won't agree with you. They'll just say, no, I don't think that'll work. Jyotish is wonderful feedback like that. He just, what about doing this? No, that isn't a good idea. And he's right. I go along with what he says. But find people that you really trust, that you believe in their clarity of mind. And if you have a thought of something, run it by them. Get feedback. And, in the early days, we were on the village council. This was the first couple years. And we never made a decision, or took action on a decision, I should say, unless the whole village council agreed. If there was unanimity of agreement, then we thought, okay, this is God's will. But if there wasn't, we'd say, well, let's table that for a little while till we can really all feel the right thing to do. So decision-making, asking God for guidance, but then getting feedback from your guru bhais. Does this feel right? And if we can do that, as I say, if it's really the right decision, it's amplified by the energy of other people around you. And it's a beautiful way to go forward. But also another thing, actually Jyotish taught me this too, that if you're going to make a decision, if it feels right, and if you've gotten positive feedback from people you trust, make sure that you communicate with everybody that decision will affect. If you're going to go away for a long time and it feels right, and you get the right feedback, then make sure everybody who will be affected by that decision knows that that's what you're going to do. And that unifies the group. It unifies, it's like a thought that's, just embraced by the general consciousness. And that really is what we're talking about. This is a community of consciousness. And we need to work with cooperation, with harmony, with communication, with respect. But it's a community of consciousness, and more, and I'm so grateful for all of you who have come in more recently, because God has brought you, because you have the potential to live in this way, to live in a community based on consciousness, not rules, not hierarchy, not authority telling you what to do, but understanding a community of consciousness. And, okay, I'm going to embarrass somebody, but Lalita was telling me, I'm going down to the Hermitage to write, so I see her often. And, last year, when the Tulip Festival came, she was just recovering from major surgery and a major treatment and so forth. And then Kabbalah came and said, I'll help you. And he said, you just act through me, and I will do it. And I just thought, wow, don't look at what you're getting, look at what you're giving, and draw and tuning in to what needs to happen, being a channel for all the experience and knowledge that Lalita has about all that. And it was beautiful. It was, but again, it's understanding this is a community of consciousness, and that in the unity of a shared vision, in the harmony and the communication, that's how we all get raised higher and higher and higher. And, since I'm saying this sincerely, since since this temple is being used and we have classes and satsangs and services here, I feel the vibration in this temple just keeps getting higher and higher because of the quality of the energy that this community is bringing to it. And finally, and then we'll have some questions, to be an ideal citizen is to be a global citizen of Ananda and to think interconnectedly. And this is happening in so many ways. Dhyan and Shama were in India with us last fall, and they made all these connections and continuing about online marketing and communication that way. Our fundraising department has been vitally important in helping both Assisi and India develop both planned giving and fundraising. And the people that have gone, Alex just got back. He's sitting in the very back being quiet, maybe jet lagged, but the monks all had a retreat there. And just to keep that interconnectedness going. And even, and Devadasi from Assisi is sitting in the back, and I see Mantrini is translating for her. I'm glad you're doing that. Stand up, because maybe everybody doesn't know you. She doesn't speak much English, but she's from, she's the main person who runs the kitchen for their Terra de Luci, their organic farm. So she does incredible canning and preserving and drying and all those things. So she's visiting now and just coming to share. And also more centrally, more domestically, I should say, nationally, we have Mark, who we needed you could stand up, Mark, because we desperately needed somebody for our tech department, IT department. You can sit down. And because Bob Stolzman needed to retire. Well, Mark and his wife have been running the Dallas Center for many years, and I'll come. And so just again, that global integration, and to think, yes, we live here at the village, but think globally. Think, I saw in I think it was Mighty Networks that we're going to be doing prayers for LA with the LA leaders on a Zoom prayer. And again, just to think, how can we stay connected? How can we expand? And the feeling of unity we feel here, let's try to create it throughout Ananda everywhere. And everyone is an ideal citizen in that way. And so these are just some thoughts. And as I say, this was more a report of what you all are already doing than saying, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. So thank you. Thank you for understanding and living the mission that Master and Swami have given us. And moving forward into the future, Swami has said that history will show that the most important thing that happened at this time were the Ananda communities. And when he said that, it just seemed like kind of a dream or a fantasy. But let's see what we can do, because the potential is certainly there. The potential for showing people, where else are people getting models of how to live, really? The churches, you go there, but it's kind of cut and dry. It's not expansive. It's not reflecting Dwapara Yuga energy. But this is a combination, as Jyotish began with that great depth of showing of really making the effort to know God in this lifetime and then living it in daily life with a group of friends and Guru Bhais and brothers and sisters. So let's see what the future holds. But Ananda certainly is one of the glowing lights in the world with the work we're doing with the Afghani girls, the high school, teaching them. And Sagar just sent us something, the new Farsi, it's a language, in India, in the Middle East, I think, their website. It's just amazing. All the Ananda website, but it's all in Farsi. Just amazing. So things are happening, and Master's using all of us in many different ways. And even if you feel like, well, I'm kind of in the last ashram, man, you can go deep in meditation. That's what it's all about. And that's what you're doing to be an ideal citizen. Okay, thank you.